Hello, I'm Svetlana Malykhina. I'm a lecturer at Boston University, and I'm sitting down here with Nina Maitland. Can we start with a little introduction?
My name is Nina, and I'm a senior here at Boston University, majoring in Russian language and literature, and last semester I was in Moscow.
Thank you. Today, we want to discuss course Russian in Boston. This course I created in 2017. It's basically based on my experience and my personal growing interest in the framework of memory and trauma. The objectives for the course: to extend students' advanced skills in all three modes of communication: interpersonal, interpretive, and presentational; pair up students with members of Russian-speaking community for the opportunity to use language skills in the real world.
That is being offered by the Russian program. After gaining a foothold in the first 2 years of learning the Russian language in class, many students often struggle to improve their conversational abilities. The only way to truly master the language is to talk to native Russian speakers. Well, here in Boston, we have a robust Russian community, and with this class, you can access this wonderful group of people. In Russian Boston, you will have the opportunity to speak to members of the Russian community, volunteer, see performances of Russian music, and so much more. The following are a few examples of some of the unique people we met and amazing experiences we had throughout the semester.
С утра побрился и галстук новый, горошек синий я надел. Купил 3 астры, 4 ровно прилетел. Я ходил, и я ходил, я вас ждал, и я ждала. Я был зол, и я сердилась, я ушел, и я ушла. Мы были оба, я у аптеки, а я в кино искал вас. Так значит завтра на том же месте в тот же час.
Какой курс русского языка ты рекомендуешь?
Если ты хочешь усовершенствовать свой русский язык вне класса, я рекомендую Russian in Boston.
Nina, if you wish, you can talk a little bit about this course or what you did in this course.
Throughout this course, I conducted my own research on Russian immigration, and then I conducted weekly interviews in Russian with members of the local immigrant communities, and then I utilized the website to present the data and materials that I had used.
I'm actively involved in a vibrant life of Russian-speaking diaspora in Boston, and I have known that immigrants generally and Russian-speaking ones make up a big part of the population and strive to be visible. So I suggest students to take interviews of the Russian community members in order to compile live story projects, present them in class, and publish on the course blog. I use rubrics to assess students' projects and try to adjust the description to my reasonable expectations. Students study what Russian-speaking community members think and what they do to understand and analyze culturally specific issues and make comparisons to American culture. Interview questions included questions about education, employment, cultural practices, family, home life, health, daily habits, food, politics, society, money.
Можете ли вы описать свое художественное образование и опыт рисования в Советском Союзе?
В Советском Союзе, кстати, это было очень хорошо, поскольку, несмотря на все гонения на левых художников в 30-е годы, я-то учился, начиная с 52-го, где-то 53-го. То есть все эти левые художники, может быть, не самые известные, но были еще живы. И поскольку им не давали не давали быть членами Союза советских художников или не пускали их на выставки с их работами, то они в основном работали преподавателями в детских художественных школах и художественных кружках в домах пионеров. И вот они были как раз нашими первыми учителями. Ну, а сама система преподавания, рисования, живописи в Советском Союзе была очень сильная. Она осталась еще практически неизмененная с Императорской академией художеств с этих времен, с дореволюционных, поскольку вот этих же левых художников всю систему Союз советских художников как бы прогнал. Ну, хоть и люди существовали, но существовала программа обучения, которая была взята со старой академической школы.
Design is WordPress site, which is a public online resource on Boston's Slavic Jewish immigration history. This digital project was created with help of digital humanities librarian Vika Zafrin. The way to create sections in WordPress is that you create one page for each section, and we want students contribute to this blog. For example, here you can see book club page where students post reflections on class readings. In upper level language class, I want students to improve their Russian, and I want them to read, for example, Brodsky's poems and Sergei Dovlatov's stories. We discuss who was Sergei Dovlatov, what he was writing in his emigration years, who was his readers, and what would resonate with Russian emigre community. We also read and discuss writing of local Russian-speaking writers and poets. Some authors generously share their books published in Russian locally. It can explain us knowledge, art, ideas, memories, and cultural materials, how they pass down to later generations.
Двора уж нет, но я зачем-то его с собой в Америку привез. И без него сейчас мне было бы скучно.
Here is another interesting section, Digital Museum or Artifacts from the Immigrant Suitcases. This is collection of photographs and stories.
Из всех этих безделушек, какая твоя любимая?
Рояли маленькие. Я была в Чехословакии, и там из стекла делают маленькие роялики. Из специального стекла выливают. И в Италии есть такой магазин, где выливают специальные маленькие рояли. И у меня несколько таких безделушек стоят на рояле.
Считаете ли вы, что безделушки являются важной частью русской культуры? Если так, то почему?
Нет, безделушки это предмет роскоши, это не необходимость, это уже когда есть деньги, когда уже есть возможности.
We can go to another page, Food and Memory, where we started a collection of food pictures and family recipes. An immigrant's obsession with food is directly linked with memories about their home countries and flavors that they remembered from their childhood. We explore how food practices contribute to personal identity and give examples of how food and food habits contribute to the development and transmission of culture. We are also planning to make the photograph and recipes collection available and searchable online. In class, we spent some time to discuss how comfortable students are being able to play with software. We want students bring out their questions and concerns in a meaningful way instead of complaining way. In the guidelines and training sessions, Vika and I are not only expressing expectations, but also coaching students to the process of conducting and publishing interviews.
To talk a little bit about your project.
In my project, I wanted to look at the meaning and role of language and culture within the immigration process. And so I came up with interview questions and I met with different immigrants to ask them how they incorporated their culture and how it was transitioning into a new life in this new society.
As I mentioned, students learn about traditions and rituals through material objects and recipes passed down to the generations and adapted for a modern lifestyle. Students post the photos of the objects they've seen in immigrant homes and collect narratives of how those things were done and how they can inform ongoing research into family stories. It is also worth noting that there is no single or universal Russian speaking point of view on most issues, and the diaspora needs a forum for expressing many of them. I'd recommend to look at the project The Fourth Way of Immigrations, Becoming an American.
Первый раз я приехала в Нью-Йорк. И то есть первую свою поездку, не в эту, когда я уже переехала, а до этого, первый мой город пребывания был Нью-Йорк. Ну, Нью-Йорк, конечно, производит потрясающее впечатление на любого человека, который в него приезжает. И он навсегда останется одним из моих любимых городов. Я часто туда езжу. И вот, это, конечно, это мощь небоскребов, вот это вот величие этого города, учитывая то, что я очень хорошо знаю его историю, и как его строили, и все истории про старые деньги, и как боролись между собой великие миллионеры, и все это происходило в этом Нью-Йорке, то есть, ну, место силы. То, что называется место силы. Очень люблю Нью-Йорк.
The two cultures because I wanted to know about their process of integrating. I wanted to know what they thought was good and bad about American culture, and I found that it was typically hard to get them to express what they found wasn't good about American culture, and specifically, they tended to not want to talk about politics, but I found that questions about their family, language barriers, their experiences one-on-one with people, they very easily opened up and expanded upon their answers.
Thank you, Nina.
Now, I'd like to share with you two challenges in this course. The first challenge is a typical teacher's doubt: how to get students talk. Neither extensive knowledge of linguistic forms nor the desire to manipulate those forms in classroom performance can assure the ability to communicate with native speakers. Similarly, my second challenge is why anyone from the community would agree to be interviewees and contributors to the project. It would not be altogether accurate to leave out the mention of a rich guest speaker selection for this course. One benefit that derived from having target language guest speakers is to enhance students' educational experience. There were two types of guest speakers. The first group introduced students to important aspects of communication with Russian community and discuss ways to accomplish a cross-cultural project. The second type is speakers who were experts in particular areas. These speakers not only stimulate class discussions, but also give the students ideas for their assignments. Let me show you two examples.
В своей работе, но я никогда не говорю о себе. О себе, с одной стороны, как бы приятно говорить, с другой стороны, я не так часто это делаю. Это, соответственно, у меня опыта меньше здесь. И я, конечно, буду стараться обращаться к вам и надеюсь на ваши вопросы, которые помогут мне выйти на какие-то темы. Потому что, вообще говоря, говорить о себе можно, ну, понятно, что тут как бы с чего начать. Мне предложили такую интересную как бы такую мета-тему.
Когда я работала над статьей о Серже Чермаеве, я выяснила, что его настоящая фамилия Исакович, и он потомок сефардской еврейской семьи, которая в свое время, в XVIII веке, спустилась на Кавказ и поселилась в предгорьях Кавказа. Его семья, он родился в городе Грозном. Я обнаружила несколько ошибок. Крупные университетские архивы в своих описаниях коллекции или описании его работы называли его выходцем из города Грозного, Азербайджан. Я списалась с архивами, исправили эту ошибку, и статья вышла. Курьезный факт: за месяц до выхода моей статьи меня сконтактировал главный пресс-секретарь при правительстве Чечни.
A question to Nina. Nina, what was the biggest challenge for you in this course?
I think the two biggest challenges I faced was, first of all, figuring out which questions I could ask the people so that I could get sufficient information. Sometimes you would ask a question and the response would be short and you'd have to figure out what you could then ask to get more information. But definitely the biggest challenge for me was getting over my nervousness about speaking with native Russian speakers. Once I started conducting the interviews, I realized that they knew to speak slowly because I was not native, and I also recorded the interviews, which helped me to go back later and go back over the material, and it definitely was a really good experience to have before going abroad.
Мне больше всего нравится то, что это Америка.
Хороший ответ.
Потому что Бостон – это в большой степени лицо Америки.
Архитектурно, в общем, наверное, здесь есть много интересного. Прежде всего, меня поразило, почему такое количество эркеров.
Database for further research. In section gallery, you may look up students' projects, accompanied by brief reflections on what students learned and what their opinions about their projects. Most of the participants for the projects are considered a part of the fourth way of immigration. But as you observe from their responses, their opinions and identities are quite different.